Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast Retro Life for You, movies of the 1980s and 1990s. My name is Chris Adams, host of the show, and co-host, as always. Looks like he is still listed
Oh
as Travis,
yeah.
Travis, Travis, but
Yep.
we're just gonna call him
We'll
one
roll with it.
Travis.
One Travis.
We don't want to
The
give
one Travis.
him three times the notoriety. We don't want to do that.
I
Just call
am
him
the one Travis.
Travis, the one. What's up, man?
Yes. Man, just ready to get into this final episode of our love story month.
Yeah, last week of February, our
Last week
last
of
of the Valentine's Day type.
February.
Then we're moving on to
February.
some bigger and better things.
Some February.
It's getting too mushy in here. We gotta get some adrenaline flowing, some action or something.
Yeah. Gotta
Some
rinse some of this estrogen off of my keyboard.
we gotta need some buildings blowing up or some fast car chases or something.
Well, actually tonight though, we do get a little bit of action here though with our
Uh,
first movie from the
there.
80s
Well,
and some explosions.
and the one from the '90s, we had a car chase at least. I mean,
Oh, we did.
we did had a car chase. So tonight we're doing the
I,
movie
hang on,
Always.
hang on before you do the second one. How do you like the fact that both movies began? I don't know if you made this correlation, but both movies start with an engine going out in a plane.
Right.
I was
Funny,
like, "What? Oh, this is cool."
funny enough, it did. That's crazy. But we're starting with our '80s movie this week, and the double feature we're doing is Always with Richard Dreyfuss, John Goodman, and Holly Hunter, and
And
the
Audrey
follow up
Hepburn.
and Audrey Hepburn. I can't forget that. Nope. Yep. Yep.
Yep,
Audrey
it's
Hepburn.
her
And
last time on film before she passed.
the '90s film is Forever Young with Mel Gibson.
Forever young, I
And
wanna be
who was that?
forever young.
Who was that? That was Jamie Lee Curtis, right?
Really wanna live. Yeah,
Yeah.
and Frodo Baggins.
And Frodo Baggins. Yes. Elijah Wood. One of his earlier works.
We sat down before we jump into it real quick. This is pretty funny. We sat down and Tasha was like, "So what's this about?" And he was already on screen. Elijah Wood was, and I said, "Well," I said, "he has got to take this ring to Mordor that his uncle gave him," and she started laughing. She was like, I was like, "I think this is a prequel though, because he's pretty young."
This is when he first met his uncle Bilbo, I believe.
Yeah. I think his mom's gonna ship him off because he had trouble in school or something.
Right.
He got one little fight. My mom got scared.
Sent
She
him to
moved
his
to
uncle
Shire.
out there in Bel Air. I mean,
Yeah.
we know how. Wait, we know how it went from there.
Hey,
I'm a poet
he
and
had to
didn't know
take
it.
the ring to Mordor, but he was a little scared.
That's right. All right.
Okay, always.
Always. We're jumping on always first. So as we mentioned, uh, Richard Dreyfuss, John Goodman, Holly Hunter, your main three people. Well, I'd say they're the main three people. You
They're the
also
main
had
three for sure.
you also had the young
Well,
guy
Brad.
that he was sent back for, which is Brad Johnson.
Yeah.
So, but
Wait,
for
and
those
for a
who
minute, did you, for a moment, when he was there for a little bit, actually, I thought that was good old Big Brother from the Goonies, and,
Josh Brolin,
Thanos. Yeah, there for a hot second, I thought that was Josh Brolin, man. I was like, wow, he looks like I don't remember, but
I
yeah, he
recognized
resembled him.
him. I recognized him, but I didn't know his actual name. I had just seen him recently in the Left Behind movies
Oh, okay.
that I watched, so I recognized him from that, but I just didn't. I didn't know his actual name at the time.
What's this movie about, Chris?
Well, this is a funny. Glad you asked. It's a a romantic fantasy drama about Pete Sandich, played by Richard Dreyfuss, a daring aerial firefighter who dies in a tragic accident but is sent back as a ghost to guide a young new pilot, Ted Baker, played by Brad Johnson. Meanwhile, Pete watches over his grieving girlfriend, Dorinda Durston, played by Holly Hunter, as she struggles to move on. The film explores themes of love and loss and second chances and yada, yada, yada. It's basically a loose remake of A Guy Named Joe from 1943, shifting the setting from World War II fighter pilots to aerial firefighters battling forest fires. Like
Okay.
now, the tragic accident basically is him basically saving John Goodman because his engine
Yes, he
was on
saved
fire
Al.
and couldn't get the fire to go out, and he was going to go down and crash. And he comes in and drops that load that was meant for the fire on top of the plane to put his fire out. But the problem is that he barely made it over the trees coming back
Yeah,
to the forest
he
there.
come down in a real steep dive, and they were telling him that he was too heavy. He wouldn't be able to pull up, and then he went all the way down into the fire, like he's in the fire.
Hmm.
And he finally came. He clips back to John Goodman, and he's like, "Come on, buddy, come on, but pull up, pull up." So he finally worked it out and came back above the doggone clouds. This is actually my favorite scene in the movie. Um,
Oh,
when
it
he
was
came back
full.
up, he looked over.
Come
I
back
know
up.
it's not. It's I mean it is though. I just
It
I
is
like the
cool.
moment. I
Yeah,
like the
he's
moment.
just like he's looking over at John Goodman, and he's like, huh, over his shoulder, look, check out my engine. Then all of a
Yeah,
sudden, boom, the
boom. Yeah,
plane
he comes
blows up
back
right
up,
in
and
midair.
it was wild because his engine wasn't on fire. Like so, John Goodman's engine was like on fire at the propeller, and he just said, it's going to hit the gas line, man. I'm done. I think I'm done. I think this is
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And then when it turned back, when Richard Dreyfuss looked out the window, the fire was actually like coming out of a panel on the engine. So it was like, uh oh. And that's yeah. He kind of nodded his head. He looked over at John Goodman through the cockpit and just kind of you tilt your head to get somebody to look at something. He kind of did that number, and as soon as he did it, just boom, there it went. I was like,
And
whoa.
and the thing about this, the the big thing about this, where he blows up him in there like that, is that I don't think the character he was seeing, the one that Holly Hunter plays, really wanted him to go on this. She had a bad feeling or something, didn't want him to
They
fly
had been in an
anymore.
argument the night before, Dorinda. They had been in an
Yeah.
argument the night before at the house, and he was telling her, he basically went Rocky on her. He's like, "I'm a firefighter, Adrian. What do you want me to do? I
Right.
fight fires. That's what I love." She's like, "You can't win this one, Pete." No, I'm just. But I mean, it was parallel conversation. She was begging him not to go, and he's like, "This is what I do, man. I fight fires."
Yeah, and then lo and behold, we get the accident, and he's dead and
And
gone.
if he hadn't have went, then we would have lost Al. So he saved Al.
That is true. That is true. And basically, he, instead of going, straight, when he dies, he doesn't just go to heaven or anything like that. He's out and about there, and this is where Audrey Hepburn comes into play. She's the what would you call her? She's not a guardian angel to him, but she's
Yeah,
more
I'd say
like
she's more
the
of just a guide.
a guide.
Maybe she's
Yes.
a guide. Maybe she worked. Maybe maybe she works in HR. I don't know.
I think she was described as a guide in the
Yeah.
afterlife, is what she was described as, and she is telling him that he needs to help bring this young pilot along. Now the
Right.
problem is he didn't know this young pilot
Well,
also
she
has the
had to
hots
be
for his
because
girlfriend.
she was doing something. Because remember, she had the conversation with him too that she was trying to give him what she had to work to find. She was trying to fast track him, and what took her so long to find your freedom.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was like a year in between, I believe.
It was
He'd been gone.
strange though. I thought that was strange the way Steven Spielberg did that. It was neat, but it was strange how he's walking through the burnt forest, and then there's just this patch of green and like a dogwood tree, and she's like, "Here, have a seat," and starts cutting his hair. It's like,
Yeah, what's up
what's
with
going
that?
on? What's
What's up with
going
that?
on?
I mean, Spielberg's got some weird stuff sometimes, but that kind of takes the cake right there. Speaking of Spielberg, yeah, directed by Steven Spielberg, written by Jerry Belson, and as we said, based loosely on the 1943 film A Guy Named Joe. Produced by Spielberg, Kathleen Kennedy, and Frank Marshall, and the music is by John Williams. I think John Williams does every movie Steven Spielberg has ever directed,
Right.
as far as the music goes.
Wow, this is amazing for this being a Spielberg movie. I kind of that's kind of interesting to me. The box office, the budget was 31 million, which
Hmm.
I could see for 1989. They did blow up a few planes, and they flew some planes around a good bit, and that fuel is not cheap. But it only grossed 74 million in change.
Yep. Well,
That's
what I was think about it
surprising to me.
in the '80s, what was Steven Spielberg best known for?
E.T. and uh, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and uh, what else? I mean, he's got a
Always
good
didn't
list.
really fall in his wheelhouse,
Starman.
basically, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, yeah.
He did other types of movies, and
Cocoon
when he,
wasn't Cocoon Spielberg as well?
I think it was. So this doesn't really surprise. It doesn't surprise me too much because a lot of people still look for him to do what he does the best.
I guess
But
maybe
I
if you
mean,
think about it that way. But I think if you attach Spielberg's name to it, I would think it's going. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where, oh, it's a Spielberg movie. Let's see it.
well, they say why it wasn't. While it was not a major blockbuster, it was a modest financial success. It did double its budget
Yeah, for
as
sure.
far as money goes, and then a little bit extra on top of it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It wasn't a smash hit, but it wasn't a failure either.
it says here critics, some critics felt it lacked the impact of Spielberg's previous works. That's what I was hinting at real while ago because it's
Okay.
not what he had normally done before he got to this, but he really wanted to remake that film and make it into something, a little bit different, which is what he did with. That's what he did, what he wanted to do. So, um,
Did you know that?
he's already done everything else. Why not do what he wants to do at this point?
Right. So I think we've discussed it before. That to me, I think honestly, I think Trish Stratus edges her out, but just barely. But to me, Audrey Hepburn is like one of the most beautiful women that ever walked the face of the planet.
I
Um,
she always when she was younger, yes, for sure. And do you remember some of her earlier works? Did you watch some of her earlier works?
yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
I didn't know if you did.
Breakfast at Tiffany's and
Yes,
What is it? Something in Rome, Roman Holiday. Uh, no, Funny Face was Barb Babs. That was Babs. Oh my God, I'm so verklempt. Oh my God, did you see the SNL 50th where Mike Myers came back and did that?
yes.
That was so funny.
Well, I didn't see all of the SNL 50 thing, but I seen some of it.
That was funny. But
She
yeah, no,
did.
I
She also
watched a
did
bunch of her movies.
My Fair Lady in '64. They had us watch that in
Yes.
school. Actually, I believe
Okay.
that's the what's her name? Her character's name is Elijah Doolittle or something like that. In it,
Hmm.
the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain or something. They
Yeah,
always
but
have her
she
say
didn't
over and
say
over
it.
again until she could
She
say
didn't
it
say it
correctly.
all like that, though, did she? Oh, that's right. That's where
Oh,
she was country. She was a little
yes.
hick, wasn't she?
She was something,
Which
and they
is,
were trying to teach her to speak more elegantly as and be a lady and everything. And that
yeah.
was the line he gave her until she got it mastered, basically. I do remember that much about it. Um,
Which one was that one?
My Fair Lady.
My Fair Lady. Yeah, because Sabrina's the one with Humphrey Bogart, where she went to school in Paris. Yeah, yeah.
So now to kind of touch on the rest of the cast real quick, Richard Dreyfuss, we
She
know
was
who
in
he
Funny
played.
Face. She was in Funny Face.
She was.
She was in Funny
So
Face.
you were wrong twice.
No, I
You,
don't think I was. I swear to God that
well, see, you had it
she
right the
did
first
Marcy and
time, but then
Babs.
you corrected yourself.
Oh yeah. Oh well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah. It was
technically,
her and Fred. That was the one that her and Fred Astaire did. But yeah. Oh, before we
I,
hit the rest of the cast, though, real quick, I thought it was pretty neat. Hang on just a second. Just give Audrey her flowers. She's the queen out of the movie anyway. Oh, that one of the things that I thought was interesting was her outfit in the show. What came from her own personal wardrobe, and she had to be carried on a she had to be carried out on a stretcher by crew members. They covered her up and carried her out on a stretcher in between shooting the scenes in the burned out forest, so the dirt and ashes wouldn't smudge the white costume.
oh my
And then
gosh,
she was paid $1 million for a role. She donated her entire salary to UNICEF, and this was her final film before her death on January 20th of 1993 at the age of 63. And she accepted the role because she wanted to work with Steven Spielberg.
that's cool.
I thought so.
It is actually. I didn't see that one. That is very cool though. So, touch on the rest of the cast real quick. We had Richard Dreyfuss, best known for his previous roles in Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, as well as Mr. Holland's Opus.
Mr. Holland's Opus.
Listen, we're not going to talk about his opus here, okay? That's his own personal.
That's his personal.
What
Yeah,
he does with
that's
his
between
opus
him.
is his business, okay?
That's his business for sure. He was in something else that I loved too, but I don't remember what
Oh,
it
dude, he's been in a bunch of things. He was in Stakeout with Emilio Estevez, I believe, wasn't he? That was a
Yeah,
good one.
he was the narrator of the Call of the Wild. Uh,
Was he in a
which
race
one I'm
movie?
trying to think of.
Was he a race car driver in a
I
movie?
swear to God, he was. That's probably the one I'm trying to think of. I swear he was. It wasn't Herbie the Love Bug, was it? but
No, no, not
but
that
no,
kind of
I
race.
swear he was. I can see him. I can see him driving the car. It was like one of those old school cars that looked like a tube with no top on it. Because I can see him with his goggles on, wiping mud away or something. Like I can see that in my mind.
Well, you know what? We are going to find out what it is because inquiring minds want to know. So,
100%. We
if
got to
we
figure that one out.
do you remember about the time frame it came out? Was it an 80s or a 90s film?
I think it was in the 80s, or it may have been a little earlier than that even.
Well, we'll go down a little bit further just in case. We know he was in Jaws. We know he was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Mhm.
American Graffiti. I
Yo, the
don't.
movie I was trying to think of though, it was Down and Out in Beverly Hills, the one where Nick Nolte was going in. It had
Yeah,
him, Nick Nolte, and Bette Midler. That movie is so funny.
yeah, I do remember that one actually. He was in Stand By Me, Stakeout.
Yeah, he was the writer in Stand By Me.
There's
I don't remember.
always
We're gonna have to.
Postcards from the Edge. There's What About Bob? Can't forget What About
What about
Bob.
Bob?
I mean,
I'm gonna do it a little
geez,
and see if I can expedite the process here and
Mr.
just
Holland's
Google
Opus. I mean, if
Richard
he's got,
Dreyfuss
well, that's why I've got him on IMDb right now.
race
But
movie.
yeah, just do it that way because I'm not seeing anything stand out to me.
Yeah, me either. But I swear he was in some kind of
He
racing
was
movie.
he was in Poseidon 2006
I guess
version
it's
of
Let It
Poseidon.
Ride.
Is it Let It Ride?
No, but that was it was a racing movie, but it was about horse racing.
No,
So I don't know what movie we're both
I
thinking
could
of. It
have
had
I
to
could have
exist.
yeah, I could have swore he was in a race car movie of some sort.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. We'll have to
Unbelievable.
get back on that one. We'll have to get back to that one.
Well, we'll do what we got to do, right?
Yeah.
But it's not Let It Ride. It's not. I don't think it's American Graffiti we're thinking of either.
Nah. And he got who else? We got Holly Hunter.
Holly
Miss Holly
Hunter,
Hunter is Dorinda Durston.
Dorinda Durston, Pete's
Yeah.
girlfriend, a
And I
skilled
didn't realize
pilot.
that was her. It's
It's
funny because she was so familiar to me while I was watching it. I knew her voice, and then but I couldn't remember who it was. And then when we get on to do this, you pull up IMDb. We always use IMDb, the International Movie Database, because they're the law. They're reliable. They're accurate. You don't want to be looking stuff up on Wikipedia that anybody can change. She was Penny and Oh Brother Where Art Thou too, one of my all-time favorite movies. Oh, and funnily enough, John Goodman was definitely in that one.
in which one?
Oh Brother Where Art Thou?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's the one that hit him with the stick.
Now,
Charlie
did
Money.
you figure out was he in Raising Arizona also with her?
Oh, I don't know, but I can find out in just a
Because she's
hot
known
second.
for she's also known for Raising Arizona, the piano. She also voiced
He was
Elastigirl in The
Gale.
Incredibles.
I thought he was in it because I'm pretty sure he was the one that I was talking about when he went to punch him. He scraped his hand on the popcorn ceiling. He was one of the ones trying to kill Madonna, Nick Cage. He was Gale in Raising Arizona. John
All
Goodman
right.
was.
Brad Johnson as Ted Baker, known for Flight of the Intruder and the Left Behind film series.
Okay.
That's the guy. That's the one that Pete Sanders is sitting back to kind of mentor or kind of guard, I guess. Help him along
Yeah,
his way.
the one I was saying resembles loosely. What? No, he resembled him enough to make me go, "Is that Josh Brolin?"
Yeah, but it's not
Like he
though.
did.
And then John Goodman's been in a little bit of everything. I mean, but everybody, what's funny
John
enough?
Goodman is
Everybody loves The
Mr.
Big
Dude.
Lebowski. Everybody loves that.
Yeah.
I've never seen it before.
Oh, the Big
That's
Lebowski's
one of the
awesome,
movies I've never seen. He
man.
was in
Hey, let me
Monsters
tell you something.
Inc. Roseanne, of course, Roseanne.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about the Big Lebowski, and you not seeing it.
Yeah, huh?
The dude does not abide. The dude does not abide.
Does not abide.
Yeah, I'll
All
tell
right.
you a great John Goodman movie. And he was front and center throughout the entire thing too. Is was Red State.
I've not seen that one either. What's that?
Red State was phenomenal. I believe it's actually a Kevin Smith movie, but it goes into, they don't tell you that they go together, but it goes with two or three other movies, and so they intertwine. It's like the same time frame and the same universe as what was happening, and but the movies that they tie in with is Cloverfield, the
Okay.
that first scary movie that came out
Yeah.
that was like shot from by handhelds and stuff. It was like,
Right.
this is revolutionary. There's never been a movie filmed like this before. But
Blair
yeah,
Witch.
yeah, it ties in like that. Well, we don't. This man, Blair Witch. Blair Witch is the only movie I've ever seen. I'm I wanted my money back. I left halfway through it, and then I watched it again when it came out, or I fast forwarded it when it came out on VHS or DVD or whatever,
Yeah.
and couldn't. That's the worst movie ever made.
But film with camcorder though.
Yeah, but it's still the worst movie ever made.
I didn't say it was good by any means. Uh, one other guy to talk about that's in the movie quite a bit is Keith David, plays the role of Powerhouse. He's a mechanic in the fire squad. You would know him from
Yeah,
They Live and The Thing and uh, Greenleaf on TV.
he was this. What wasn't he in? They something else. Did I remember him
Oh yeah, he's been in
from?
other things. These are just some of a few of his works. So they're
Oh, like
mentioned
his
in.
big deal stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah, because well, he's like he was a general in something too, like a military dude. Well, probably in a few
yeah,
things.
yeah. Well, the one you're
It
probably
wasn't.
thinking of was it in Armageddon?
Yep, that's it. That's it. That's where I
Okay,
could see him from. I see him
yeah,
in my brain, my mind's eye.
yeah. It
My
sounds about
brain's looking at him.
must be a
I was like,
small
I'm not Rafiki.
must be
No,
a
my
small.
eyes are open. My lids are closed.
I say must be a small window it's looking out through.
Right. It's a tiny little window. Dang, boy, he has been working. He works nonstop, dude.
Oh, he does.
Wow.
He's one of those people. He's one of them actors that's been in a lot of stuff for sure.
He's in everything, and he does tons and tons of voiceover work, like a lot of voiceover. Like we know everybody does a little voiceover. Like he's done a lot of voiceover.
Hmm. Yep. Part about the budget you mentioned 31 million. It
Hmm.
says here the flying sequences were done with real aircraft, including the PBY Catalina used as a firefighting plane. It was
Yeah,
also shot in Montana, particularly in and around Libby, capturing the natural beauty of the forested areas. So probably paid out big bucks for that, and then of course all the planes that were the aircraft they used.
yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying, man. And you start putting. They don't. So when you do jet fuel or air fuel, aircraft fuel, it's not even. You don't like pump it by the gallon. You pump it by weight, and that stuff is expensive. Like so, I
So
guess a gallon of jet fuel would basically be like over $100, two, three, $400.
so what was one of your favorite scenes in the movie?
I loved the beginning of it when the guys when they came in and they dipped and filled the water up on the tanker plane. And he was just coming at the guys fishing.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like like we discussed earlier. I like the part where it wasn't about the fact that he blew up and died. It was just the way he it was heroic to me. And as guys, we always love the heroism. Uh, because the way he did it's just the way they set that up, man. Him and John Goodman out there, and he's like, "I'm gonna save my buddy," and just like, "Huh, look, damn."
Go
Um,
figure.
I also loved the part where the new guy had came in and joined the team, and John Goodman was like training everybody. And Richard Dreyfuss was he was in the cockpit with him. He's like, dude, you got to turn, like make a turn, man. You got to fix your line, or you're gonna cover Al. And the dagger. You know what? Actually, you're on the perfect line. Just hold it steady.
Yeah.
I like the parts when they were on the airfield and in the plane. To me, those were the most interesting and the most fun. I mean, you needed the storyline, and I did enjoy I did enjoy the part. where John Goodman went off on her in the daggum apartment or whatever, where they were, whatever it was, where they were
That
at
was
when he,
definitely a pretty strong scene right there.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
the second part, it may be I think it's one of the better parts of the movie too, is when um, the guy shows back up at her house, but then John Goodman's there too. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And then he realizes that she's taking a liking to him, and he's like, "No, yeah, actually, he is one of the boys," because he's trying to help her get out of the funk,
Yeah.
help her heal and get over Pete. So I like that. It was a good movie. It's a really good movie.
It was. It had been a
What
long
were some of
time
your
since I'd
favorite
seen it,
scenes?
but when she takes off with the plane at the end of it to keep the other guy from getting up in the air and ended up like Pete. She takes it
Yeah.
upon herself to run off with it, and she does the part where she drops the water or the mixture or whatever it was, and that uh Dreyfus is in there with her as well. Pete, he's in the plane with her, guiding her through everything, telling her what to do, and it's like they tell him that they can't see him, they can't hear him, but in a way he can influence them to do whatever he wants. So this is
Hmm.
where he finally realizes that he has to let go of her if she's ever going to be happy again and not do stupid stuff to possibly get killed
Yeah,
again.
he
She
was kind
almost
of
gets
getting on
killed
my
in it.
nerves. He was kind of getting on my nerves with that mess because, like, that scene I just talked about, like when they walked out, he walked out behind him and like leaned up on her, was like, "Don't forget, you're still my girl," and you can see her whole mood change and everything. It's like, hey man, don't be being a dick right now, dude.
Right. And so at the end of it, whenever he's guiding her toward the water because she's one of her engines go out, I believe, or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
So he's
lots of engine trouble around here.
yeah. So he's telling her the other, we need to talk to Keith David and his whole mechanics thing he's got going on. Too many engines are
I'm
going
telling
out in
you
these
what,
planes,
yeah,
right?
we're having too many issues with these engines.
Um, but when she goes
I
down in
guess
the
a bit of
water,
fire and smoke in there with them, though.
right, right. But when she hits the water and goes under, and then I guess she realizes she thinks she's going to drown or something. But
Yeah.
as that happening now, he's talking to her, and she can actually see him and hear him at this point.
Hmm.
And he grabs her hand or reaches out for her hand. She takes his hand. He takes her up to the top of the water. And when she gets up there, realizes he's not there now. Was she seeing
Yeah.
something, or was it her mind because she's about to drown or
Or
something?
that's what I was gonna say, or because was it because she was near death?
Yeah. So and
I
then they
like that part
go,
too, though. The ending was nice. He's like, "That's my girl, and that's my
yeah,
boy."
that's my
Like
boy.
he taught him how to fly and sorta.
Sorta, sorta. But he lets her know while they're in that plane before she crashes, technically, that he's letting go of her. He wants her to be happy. He's releasing her from his heart, releasing. He's taking himself from her heart or something like that. I forget the exact words he said.
That's when he told her to wipe her hair if she remember
Exactly.
if
That's
she
what I
didn't
was
hear
gonna
him.
say. He is able
Yeah.
to influence her, and he's like, if you understand me, brush your hair away from your eyes so I can see you one last time and tell you goodbye. And then suddenly she reaches up and she does that and brushes her hair all the way back, and that's he pretty much lets go over at that point. Uh, it's like you could tell with her demeanor at that point, like a huge weight's lifted off her shoulder at that
Yeah.
point. Like she doesn't have that feeling anymore or something. So overall, I thought it was a great movie. I had seen it years ago, but it'd been a long time since I've seen it. So I was glad to watch it again. It was nice. So
Right.
now the one movie that I have never seen before was the next one we got coming up, Forever Young.
Oh
This was a
yeah.
first time for me. And I take it you'd seen it before, though, right?
Yeah, yeah. I watched it. This is Tasha asked me when I saw it too. I actually watched it with my mom when I was young. I've seen a lot of these kind of movies, these dramas. I watched with my mother when I was younger, and back in the blockbuster days, blockbusters and pick a flick
Flick.
movies,
Hollywood Video.
Hollywood Video. Yeah, but yeah, this is a rental for sure. But a phenomenal one. Like even at that age, you know, at 12, 13 years old. Well, it came out in 92. I was probably 13, 14, something like that.
It was
And
nice.
yeah, so it was even at that age, I thought it was a cool movie. But it's got enough of it. It keeps there's enough going on for it to keep a kid's interest with Elijah Wood and his little buddy running around and being a big part of the movie.
Right.
So it's enough to keep a younger kid's interest, I think.
Well, this is I didn't really write down who directed or anything, but the budget was 20 million for this one. It grossed domestically 55.5 million and worldwide 127 million.
Oh,
So
that's
I would
pretty
say
good.
this one did better than our previous one.
Yeah, Steve
Uh,
Miner was the director, by the way.
Steve Miner, okay. Yeah,
So,
ended up being a great movie. I enjoyed it my first time watching it. For those who haven't seen it, quick synopsis of it is Forever Young is a romantic sci-fi drama directed by there you go Steve Miner and written by J.J. Abrams. That name should ring a bell to some people.
all right.
Uh, the film follows test pilot Daniel McCormick, played by Mel Gibson, who, after losing his beloved Helen to a coma, volunteers for a cryogenic experiment in 1939. However, due to an accident, he remains frozen for 53 years and awakens in 1992, struggling to adapt to the modern world while dealing with the rapid aging effects of the experiment. With the help of a young boy, Nat Cooper, played by Elijah Wood, and his mother, Claire, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, Daniel searches for a way to reunite with his past. So he keeps trying to find, first off, his best friend, who was the guy who was working on the cryogenic experiment. That was played
Mhm.
by Norm.
Norm, Paul Went.
Norm. George Wendt.
Paul George Went. My bad. I don't
George
know why I
Wendt.
said Paul, but yeah,
Uh,
George Went.
and
I
everybody
remember
knows
his
him from
name.
Cheers.
Yep, and the way I learned his name is because remember when Cheers was coming on, it was showing to people who back in the day would have been, yeah. Oh, Woody
There's a,
Harrells.
there's a couple of things that stand out about George Wendt, other than Cheers, really, for people who were fans of his, at least anyway. He was
Yeah,
a regular for a while there, coming up on Saturday Night Live. He played one of the guys they were Chicago Bear fans, and sometimes they did
the
Chicago Bull
Bears,
fans, right? The
the
Bears,
Bulls, the
Ditka.
Dicka, the Bears, the Bulls,
And
the Cup.
then they had one where they had Harry Carey interviewing him.
Oh my God, dude! Will Ferrell doing Harry Carey is one of the most phenomenal things
He's
ever.
like, "Hi."
Hey, how about? Hey, let me ask you a question. If you was a hot dog, would you eat yourself?
He asked, what was it he asked George Wendt, or was it no? It was no. I don't think George Wendt was a part of it. He was asking somebody else, or maybe George Wendt was in it, and he was asking them would they eat beans with George Wendt while they were on the sun or something. Some
That's
stupid,
crazy.
outlandish question.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, for those who don't know Harry Carey, go look up Chicago Cubs baseball seventh inning stretch.
Go
Harry
Cubs.
Carey
Cubs win. Cubs win.
singing he goes leading everybody through the song of the seventh inning
Take me
stretch
out to the
too.
ball game or something. Yeah.
Right. They like go one, a two, a three. And then he'd be drunk already by seventh inning. You can tell
Oh
he'd been
yeah.
drinking.
We had a weatherman like that. His name was Charlie Gertz.
You're gonna get possible
Yeah.
rain
I let
tomorrow,
me.
or
I'll go ahead and let y'all know too that if y'all. So my wife was very surprised by this movie because you know during the week I had shown her. Oh, well, Friday I believe it was. I'd shown her the trailer for both movies, and she's like, I don't know if I'm in the mood for that tonight. I'm like, that's fine. Well, we sat down today, and I just went ahead and put on Forever Young, and she came in and sat down and watched it, and maybe 30 minutes into it, I said, "See, I told you you'd like this movie." She said, "Well, it is not what the trailers make it out to be. It's way better." So those of you that don't know, it's funny throughout. It's doggone. I wouldn't say it's heartbreaking or nothing, but it's a nice love story, underlying in it.
there's a lot of
But
problems.
if you run over to YouTube and watch don't judge the movie based on the trailer because I'll have to agree with her. It is a very different movie I think to watch than it is to watch the trailer for it.
There's a lot of movies that the trailers don't do justice for. And then there's a lot of movies where they show all the best parts in the trailer.
Right?
I mean, whoever has the job of putting together the trailer for a movie, I don't think they ever do a really great job per se. They either give it all away or misrepresent it, one of the two.
Yeah.
Um, Casting characters: Mel Gibson as Daniel McCormick, He was the
Yeah.
U.S.
So
Army Air Corps test pilot who undergoes the cryogenic freezing and wakes up decades later.
yeah, I don't think we have a this. So we did for the other two double features we did um movies for an actor in particular, but for this one we chose the airplane. If you haven't noticed the difference there.
We actually we were struggling to find somebody else that had a movie both in the 80s and the 90s. And then when
Mm,
we finally figured it out, it was a bit too late. We'd already had our sight set on this, and um, it just seemed like too good to pass up. But
yeah.
just for the record, the only other two that we thought about doing that someone suggested to me was
Hmm.
Say Anything in the 80s with John Cusack, and then
Hmm.
his 90s version was Serendipity. So we had thought
Yeah,
about that, but we already picked these and we wanted to go through with them.
we
So
already picked these, and Travis isn't a big John Cusack fan.
which
So
wouldn't matter, which wouldn't matter at all because Travis
it wouldn't
is
have
a
mattered.
trooper. Travis
Yeah,
is
it
a
wouldn't.
trooper and he would watch it for the show. He would
I
do
would
that.
have. I would have.
And then he would tell me, dude,
I
this is
hated.
like summer rental all over again. Why'd you make me do this?
Yeah.
Anyway, Mel Gibson known for films like Braveheart, the Lethal Weapon series, and the Mad Max series, amongst other things. Uh,
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis is Claire Cooper, single mother that helps Daniel after he wakes up.
Yeah. Which
Notable
isn't it?
films.
Isn't it? I got 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon here. It's cool that Jamie Lee Curtis is in this film. Not J.J. Abrams. That's lost in Star Wars. Steve Miner directed it. Steve Miner directed quite a few of the latter um Halloween films, like Halloween
Okay.
H2O and stuff like that.
Well, she will
The
still work
ones
with
that
him again then.
the ones that they brought Jamie Lee Curtis back for. I
Right.
should say that.
So that known for Halloween, as you said, for the Halloween series, True Lies, A Fish Called Wanda, Trading Places, Perfect. She was in quite a bit of stuff.
I remember when she did. Man, True Lies is one of the best movies ever.
It
But it
is.
was so funny to me that when they did True Lies, because like everybody knows Jamie Lee Curtis, but I don't think she's ever before been considered, the quote unquote sex symbol. But
Right.
then when she did the part where she was dancing on the bedpost, it was like the entire country went crazy. Like, oh my God, look at Jamie Lee Curtis.
Right. Well, but does nobody remember her from Perfect though?
I guess I don't know.
Did you see
Nobody.
Perfect?
She's never been thought of. I don't think so. I don't think she's
She,
ever been thought of as
well,
a
she
not a good
wasn't,
looking woman, but she
but she
wasn't thought
wasn't
of.
thought of as a sex symbol either. But if
Right.
you watch Perfect with her and John Travolta, she's an aerobics teacher, so she's
Okay.
got the little little onesie thing on or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and so I mean, you to go back, just go look it up on YouTube. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Elijah Cooper. I'm sorry, Elijah Cooper.
Elijah
Elijah
Cooper.
Wood. Elijah Elijah Wood
Thank
is Nat Cooper.
and Frodo Baggins.
A young boy who befriends Daniel and helps him adjust to the modern world, just like his mom. Notable films: Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Good Son, and Sin City, amongst other things. Sin City rings a bell, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I remember when you watched Sin City too. It was like he did. You were telling me how well he did the creepy. Like he was unsettling,
It was very unsettling. Yes.
which is a far departure from the things he had done before.
Let's see, Isabel Glasser or Glazer
Yeah, I'm
as
not sure.
as Helen. That was Daniel's love interest from 1939 who fell into the coma, which is the reason why he went to the cryogenically freezing thing because he thought she was going to die.
Yes,
Um, George Wendt as Harry Finley, as we mentioned,
he
Cheers
was.
and House and other
He
things.
was the scientist that developed the cryogenic process.
He was. Now, here's the name I want to throw at you and see if you can tell me his who he played in the other films. All right. Joe Morton as Cameron, the military scientist involved in Daniel's experiment. Notable films
Hmm.
T2 Judgment Day, Speed, and Justice League. Who is his character in Terminator 2?
I don't know.
Do you know who the character Cameron was? Do you remember who that was?
Yeah, he's the doctor. Oh my God,
It hit you?
was he? Yes, Was he not the daggum? He was the professor in there. He was like the lead scientist or something in there too.
That was checking out the arm that was left behind from
Yeah,
the yeah, that was him. I don't know what he played in Speed though. In Justice League, he was the father of Cyborg. Pretty
yep,
sure that's what
yep.
he
I
was.
remember that
So,
too. I remember that too. That's wild though. Yeah, because I can see the hand, and he was getting the chip out of. They were going to get the chip out of it or something. I don't remember what. But yes, no, I remember that. That's yeah. That's I was like, oh my god.
yep, yeah. As
Yeah,
you mentioned earlier, you mentioned J.J.
what a trip.
Abrams. The screenplay was written by J.J. Abrams before he became famous for Lost, Star Trek, and Star Wars: The Force Awakens. The first thing I remember J.J. Abrams from personally was Lost. That was
Yeah,
my
yeah. He
first.
could
That's my first memory of him.
for sure, for sure.
Um, the film's theme is of time displacement and lost love, and says it's reminiscent of the Philadelphia experiment from 1984 and the time traveler's wife in 2009.
I guess sort of. Yeah.
Mel Gibson was at the height of his career in the early 90s, starring in Lethal Weapon 3 the same year, I guess, as he did this. And Elijah Wood was only 11 years old during filming, but a lot of the people on set recognized his talent and said that he was a rising child star, is gonna do well. I guess
Oh,
they
for
were
sure.
right.
I hated him from the moment he got Paula Abdul kissed him.
Jealous. You're jealous, you mean. That's what you mean to say.
Yeah, no, I love Elijah Wood, dude.
Oh, some of the
First
other
thing
movies I liked him in, Deep
he
Impact for one. It was good in Deep
yeah,
Impact.
he was
And
good in Eternal Sunshine on a Spotless Mind.
was he not in was it was it Free Willy or was it the other one? Or was it
I say
Flipper?
Free Willy all the time, but it's like I swear it was Free Willy, but people tell me it wasn't him. So I don't.
Was it a movie about a dolphin though? Or a whale?
It may have been.
I
Uh,
can't remember. He was in one of those.
Free Willy was the dang killer whale.
That was the killer whale. But I can't remember if that's what Elijah
So
Wood was in or if he was in
I don't
um
think so. I think he was in Flipper. That was the dolphin.
okay, yeah, that. Okay, I was thinking it was a dolphin, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, he was in the
All right.
Flipper remake. I where okay, so I saw probably I probably saw The Adventures of Huck Finn before I saw Forever Young, and that's where I the Paul Abdul video and there it'd probably be where I remember him from, like the earliest I can remember him.
What was the which Paul Abdul video was that?
Straight up, straight up. Now tell me, do you gonna wanna
So
love
that's the
me
one that was
forever?
okay, so
Oh,
that's the one
oh,
with her and
oh.
Arsenio Hall in it, wasn't it?
I think so.
So Elijah
But
Wood was in
she
that
kissed
one.
him. She kissed him. He was on his tippy toes. She kissed him on the cheek or something like that. I think.
First movie I seen Elijah Wood in myself, I think, was The Faculty.
Oh, the faculty that had Ursher in it too.
Yeah, they had quite a few people in there. The Jordana Brewster was in that. That was one of the first
Mhm.
time I'd seen her.
And
Um,
what was my man? He had been off for a minute, and then like the faculty, he came back in there. What was that dude's name? He was like the one that was saving every. He was the one that everybody thought was the weirdo, and then like
was he the one
everybody
also in 40
with him.
Days of Nights?
Maybe I know Josh
Um,
Hartnett was in it.
yeah, Josh Hartnett's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I don't
Is
think
that who
he's
you're talking about?
no. The faculty is the one that's doesn't that have Usher and everybody in it? I might be thinking about a different one.
Usher's in it. Josh Hartnett's in it. Elijah Wood. You got Jordana Brewster.
Yeah.
Um,
So in that one where like the worms are getting in them or something?
yeah,
Yeah. So there was one dude in there, and he was the one that was like he saved everybody. He was like the outcast dude, but he ended up he knew what was going on. You know what I mean?
I am drawing a blank on it.
Me
Let's
too.
see.
I've got it pulled up and I can't figure it out.
I can tell you who it is once I pull it up. I just got to see the cast in it.
I might be thinking about a different movie, dude.
I see Clea Duvall was in it as well.
Oh no, I am thinking about a different movie. This is the one where the teachers are aliens.
Well, there, yeah, because that little, like you said, the little worm thing was getting in him or whatever. Famke Janssen was in there as well, the one who
I
played
thought
in
so.
X Men. Selma
Ain't this
Hayek
the one?
was in it.
Yeah. Ain't this the one where the girl that he was standing there and the girl like turned around and said something about being pretty and started headbutting the daggum mirror?
I think so.
Yeah, it's got to be it. I can't remember that guy's name though.
Did
It's gonna drive me crazy.
Sean Hallisey
And Sean, how does he?
played
It might
Stan
be.
Rosato or something like that in the movie?
Yeah, maybe. I don't. No, that's not him. I don't know. But anyway,
Regardless, it had a
yeah, yeah,
good cast in the movie.
yeah.
We'll do this movie one day that we can go deeper into it.
There you go.
So no big deal.
Yeah. What did you?
Although
I'm gonna ask you
although I
first. What were some?
listen. Although one quick thing though,
What's that?
Shooter McGavin was in it too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
So, what was some of your favorite things about this movie? Did you like the movie? Did you love the movie? Was it
I
an
did.
okay movie?
Okay, so I never saw the movie before. I didn't know what to expect at first with it, but I did like the movie after watching it today. Um, one of the humorous spots for me is when he has come out of the boys accidentally let him out of the cryogenic thing, the freezer, we'll call it, and he has gotten out of there and he's going around. And he steals some clothes off a clothesline, and it's more or less women's clothes, I think, than it is men's clothes.
Right.
And he's at this army base trying to get in to talk to somebody, and they don't want to let him in. And he starts going off on the guy and tells him his name and his serial number and his rank, and he'll make sure he serves guard duty to every base he ever goes to the rest of his life. You don't get your superior officer right here, right now. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
Scares the guy into going there to get somebody, I guess. Uh, that's one of the things I liked about it. The relationship he started to develop with Elijah Wood's character, because I think he really wanted someone kind of like a father figure that he didn't have, and he liked him in that role.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I got that
and the thing
out of
about
it.
the plane, and that they were doing that in the treehouse, like they were flying a plane, right? He's
Hmm.
teaching him how to fly a plane, and incidentally, at the end of it, he ends up having to help him land a plane. So he
Right.
already had an idea of the layout because he showed him the layout, how they made it out to be, and we told him what he had to do in the process. So he kind of remembered that toward the end, I guess, and everything, which is kind of
Hmm.
cool. So that was a fun scene. I mean, the overall story, I just like the overall story of it. I didn't know that when he came out of the little freezer thing that it was going to reverse the aging effect of him. He was going to start catching up with his age. I didn't know that. I thought he would just
Yeah.
be like Captain America. He's a frozen
Right.
popsicle for so many years
Right.
and comes
I
out.
feel
And,
like if it kind of gave you the feeling that him and Jamie Lee Curtis were going to hook up and that they were going to be a new
yes,
family. And yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was kind of kind of pushing for that a little bit, but you could also tell it wasn't going to happen too, because all he could think of was the woman that he just knew in his mind just a few
Yeah.
minutes ago, like a few hours ago.
And wasn't
I
it?
mean,
I thought it was funny too. The dynamic. Uh, what was old dude? John, the doctor she was dating. Like
yeah,
when he made dinner and like John came in and she's like, "Oh my god, I have a date with you tonight." She said it, he cooked and he's like, "You want some?" So it's the little awkwardness in between them, but then toward the end, like it was so funny. We were sitting there watching it this afternoon. I'm like, there you, when he grabbed her and kissed her, she's like, "Stall the FBI," and he's like, he just grabbed her up and kissed her and then let her go. He's like, "Go." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you in now, buddy? You the hero now."
you're the hero. Then he turns around, that nurse is smiling at him from ear to ear, like, oh,
Yeah.
that's
I think
sweet.
I think one of my favorite parts of the movie was, remember, he had talked to that little girl in the library, and then
Oh yeah,
later on he talked to Daniel about what to do, and he's like, forget it. So then Daniel goes in there later on and wakes him up in the middle of the night. He's like, you got to tell her, sing to her. He's like, sing to her. He's like, yeah. But it's funny because he was like, sing. He wasn't meaning like sing to her. He was like, all the things you told me about her, tell her that, sing to her. Like, but he took
and
it
he
literal. So
literally sings to her, "You are
yeah,
my
he goes, climbs a
sunshine."
tree. But dude, what made that part so great though was when the dad come walking up and he's like, "This is a joke, right?" He's like, "No, sir, this is very serious. He's like, my name is Nat Cooper and I'm in love with your daughter."
Yeah,
He's like, "Nat, go home."
she just embarrassed to death. She buries her head on the windowsill. The dad's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, Nat, go home
But when
now."
he
And he
looked but when he looked back, she was peeking at him walking away, smiling. So he was
right,
in too.
so yeah, so he knew at that point he had it. He was
Yeah,
in. He was good.
I thought there were so many just little. My wife cackled, sat there on the couch and cackled. There were a lot of parts of the movie that were just humorous. I mean, it's not a comedy movie, but there's just so many funny little things that go on, and especially as a parent, you know what I mean? Like the things that Nat was doing, and it's just, yeah, it was. I loved it.
It was a good movie overall for me. I definitely recommend it to anybody. Not and not just not even talking about it being like
A romance or
a
nothing.
romance movie. I mean, just for just
Yes,
a fun
just a good
movie.
movie.
Just
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
just a really good movie.
Yeah, I
So
thought the way that talking about him aging too, that was one of the things I brought up too when we were watching it. I was like, because I remembered that. That's one of the bigger things I remembered from it too, was like how good of a job I feel like they did of his rapid aging. Like it was like when he started, what were they doing? Oh, it was the when he was teaching him how to fly the plane. When they came down, he fell in the backyard, and then like
right.
they showed him in the hospital and his hair's turning gray, and then they show him a little bit later. It's like almost every scene, or not sequence, but every new scene, he was showed him a little older and a little older. I thought they did a phenomenal job with that.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. And you kept noticing the hair kept getting a little more gray, a little more gray.
Mhm.
Now, what was going to happen though? I wonder because it didn't. You don't really find out at the end of it if anything really came out of it. I believe the notes that the original scientist that George Wendt played had written on there said that the problem that he had found out while he was in the cryogenic stasis was irreversible.
Yeah, yeah, you
So
so yeah.
it
So, but what I think happened is so he'll catch up to the age that he would be at, and then kind of just age naturally from there.
See, it doesn't really say
Or
it. It kind of leads you to believe he's gonna just keep aging till he dies or something.
right. But see, but then when you get a science nerd on it, you'd be like, well, yeah, so he'd catch up. But then you could think too, like, would the detriment of that rapid aging, would that take him out early? I don't know.
Uh,
I think theoretically because that's what I was talking to Tasha about though. She's like, do you think they're really doing that? And I was like, they've been trying to do that for decades and decades. I said, but cryogenics is a weird thing because you can't sustain the tissue. You can't sustain the tissue degrades, and then your organs, your brain, you just can't sustain it. And
right.
she said, well, how do they freeze eggs? And I said, it's a different cellular makeup. You don't have all of the complex systems to keep an egg. And an egg is an
Did
embryonic thing. It's not fully alive yet.
didn't they say at one point that like Walt Disney was the first person to be frozen or something?
I don't recall, to be honest with you. They may
I
have.
thought there was talk about that or something or rumor.
Oh, I'm sure there's been quite a few people try it. And like I said, I mean, it's not something that's not still that we abandon. Like humanity is still researching cryogenics 100%. Like she said, we freeze sperm, we freeze eggs, we freeze uh, uh, crustaceans, and insects with exoskeletons can freeze and come back. But that's the way they're built though. Like that's their natural defense system though. Like you can grab like a mayfly or a centipede or something, throw it in your freezer and freeze it and keep it there for 2 weeks, and then set it back out on the counter, and it'll start moving again.
I'm not gonna ask you how you know that.
A Dobson fly is how I know that.
I'm not asking
If y'all
the
don't know
guy.
what a Dobson fly is, Google it. Do a Google image search of a Dobson fly, and when you see the male, you'll be like, "What?" And I'm telling you now, if you see this thing in person, it will scare the bejesus out of you. It's about as long as your hand is. It is enormous, and it's got these great big inch and a half, 2 inch long pinchers hanging out the front of its face. But what I learned about that through this experience is that the male, you don't have to worry about those pinchers because they're so long. He doesn't have enough jaw strength. They're so long that they're not hard. They'll actually flex. It's the females you got to worry about. They have real short, like wood beetle pinchers, and they will take out a chunk of skin. But I found that thing on my front porch one day and froze it to show people. And we were looking at it. Me and a buddy of mine, I dumped him out, had him a little Tupperware container, and I dumped him out on the counter. I was like, "Man, have you ever seen this thing? Look at this thing." And this is before you had the internet at your fingertips. And yeah, dude, that thing started twitching and moving on the counter after about 10 minutes, and we were like, "What?" Like, dude, it's an alien.
Come back. Oh man. Well, I guess that's about wraps it up for us tonight. Two very
Heck
good
yeah,
movies. Definitely recommend both of them that we talked about. Uh,
absolutely.
I don't think nobody would be disappointed. So
No, not
it
neither
might
one.
not be a movie that people will watch over and over again, but I think that everybody who watches it will like it the first time they see it at least.
For sure, for sure. The only gripe I had was on uh Amazon. The Always was really grainy. They need to go
What
back
did
and clean that up digitally.
I watched Always on Netflix,
Was
and
it on Netflix? If I'd have known that,
yeah,
I wouldn't have paid for it.
it was on Netflix, and I had to rent Forever Young on Amazon.
Ah,
The only thing I got with that one was it told me my monitor didn't support some kind of graphic or something. Stopped midway through, and I thought it wasn't going to play it at first, and then it went ahead and played it, but it played it at the next level below. So I don't have a 4K monitor. I have a 1080 monitor.
yeah.
So that's what it was telling me
Well,
basically.
that's not going to be in true HDR or nothing anyway.
Right. Right. Well, okay, like I said, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. If you are new to the show, don't forget to follow us on social media there at Facebook and Instagram. Check us out on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/ at retro life for you, it'll take you to our homepage on YouTube. And you can watch our videos that we have up there. We got a pretty good library up there right now of stuff. It's not all of our stuff from the past as far as videos go, but it's quite a bit up there right now. And I'll eventually one day put some more up there. I just stay so busy these days; it's hard to catch up with it. So I'm sorry on that. But our entire library is available through Spotify and iTunes. If you follow us on there and you like the audio version instead, you can see all of us there. And we have a website at www.retrolife, the number four, the letter u.com, that you can listen to us straight from the browser. If you go into the show notes, you should be able to see the video from there as well. So, uh, Travis, what is that handy dandy email they can send us stuff to?
I believe that would be retro life, the number four, the letters YOU at gmail.com.
That is so correct. Any questions, comments, or suggestions for movies you'd like to see us do? Um, send it there. We love hearing from people. We'll get back with you on it for sure. Might even read it on the
Absolutely.
air. You never can tell.
Hey, hey, hey.
Well, no, that's Fat Albert. So.
Hey, hey, hey.
That being said, we'll go and wrap things and end things here. Travis, you got anything for us at the end of the night tonight, or please just go ahead and wrap it up and go.
I don't know, man. I was going to try to come up with an airplane joke, but I couldn't come up with anything real good. And everyone I looked up just didn't look. It just seems like airplane jokes never really land.
That's true. Very true.